and welcome back, folks, to a new special edition of True Payroll Crime Stories. We will be delivering these crime stories on a regular basis, so I hope you
Yeah,
enjoy. Right, Walt? You excited? I know
yeah,
you like it. You like these
yeah.
things
I like these things.
too. I ain't gonna front. Yeah,
Yeah. They're fun. They're fun to get
yeah.
into.
It is
Um,
fun.
I can't wait to potentially the next level of this for me is possibly getting an interview with one of these people.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
and
Yep,
actually sitting down with somebody and saying, "Hey,
yep.
you know,
Why'd you do it?
yeah, why'd you do it? What were you thinking? What was going on?" Like,
Yeah,
I think that would be an interesting conversation.
yeah.
Yeah,
But I definitely, yeah, you're right. I want to follow up and see what's good. We got a new
absolutely.
one.
Yeah.
What is this one? Shady business.
Shady business.
Shady business. And oh, that's what I thought about today. We're gonna get into this crime story, folks. But it really got me concerned. I got concerned because I started to think of all these cases, and there is a plethora of cases out there, folks. Like
There is.
to the point that we committed to a weekly delivery of this, maybe bi-weekly. We'll see, but I'm down for weekly. It's fine, you know. And it got me worried. I'm like, wait a minute now. Should payroll folks go through background checks, criminal background checks type of thing? Because I mean, I've gone through some checks in the past, but I don't think it's consistently applied
No,
to every job I've ever had in payroll.
no. Like it depends, right? Like when I
Right.
came here, when I first moved to Michigan,
Uh-huh.
certain companies, like I applied for one of the universities up here, right?
Okay.
And they checked my credit. They
Yeah,
checked
so I've seen that before.
everything.
Yep.
They checked all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like they dug deep to say, hey, you know, and I had one person say, "Hey, I see this is on your credit. You had this type of thing on your credit. Can I trust you?
Oh, geez.
Because based on this on your credit, you
Yeah.
know, you you know, I can
Right.
I trust you with this?"
Again, we're not the fiduciary responsible, but
Uh-huh.
we have fiduciary responsibility,
Yes, yes.
right?
So
So
yeah, my point for that is like, yeah, I think there should be some type of potentially some type of check in place to make sure you're hiring the right person.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
a lot of these companies nowadays, some of them don't do those background checks.
and
Depending on the job that you do, right?
I'm sorry, like the reason why I'm hesitant to even have brought it up and to talk through it is like, folks, I'm not trying to create barriers to work. Believe me, I'm
Yeah,
not trying to create a new thing for you to go get it, prevents you from getting work. But
yeah.
this is a position where really these cases are making a bad name for us that are in payroll, that our livelihood is payroll,
Mhm.
right? And we want to continue to thrive. We want to payroll to be its own industry, right?
Mhm.
Payroll is an industry. It these folks make it like so bad for it. Like, golly, man, come on. You making a bad
Yeah.
name, right? So we'll roll right into it. Miss Kristen Morrison over here in where was it? This was in Florida, wasn't it?
No, she was in Tennessee. Good old
Okay, I got
Tennessee.
it. Okay, okay. I've been reading so much stuff. Tennessee, yes. So
Yeah.
let's run through it. So the crime was wire fraud and identity theft. She got 4 counts of wire fraud.
Yep.
Type of business was a payroll and HR provider, right? So she worked for the provider, right?
Mhm.
And the scheme lasted 2 years, and she embezzled, I don't know if embezzled or stole over $300,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now, it, you know, it's a lot of money, right? In
Yeah.
2 years, that's an extra 150 grand a year.
Yeah.
Again, cash. This is not taxed money. So that is the whole $300,000 that she stole.
Yeah.
Okay, boom. Sorry. So now how she do it? She did it with ghost employees. Well, it says it exactly here. Hold on. Fictitious employees and terminated ones, right?
Yep. So yep, she used former employees and created non-existent employees.
People, fake
Yeah,
ghosts.
yeah. In one of the clients that she did payroll for. So
Gotta be slick.
it's not like she did payroll for her own
Own
company, like
company. Right.
payroll.
Right.
She used a client to set up these fake employees and paid herself through that.
Clever,
Right. And
clever,
yeah,
but not
yeah,
beyond audit, not beyond catching it.
yeah. It says she also arranged for these fictitious employees to be made to
To
the
get pay
payments to be made
cards.
to check cards, to pay cards that
Yep.
she set up and controlled.
Yes. And that's again another clever bit because you're running it through a client's payroll, but you
Yes.
have the pay cards in hand. So you're
Mm-hmm.
just, you so it again clever, but not beyond being caught.
Yep.
Not clever enough. None you can't be too you can't do this. If you guys are listening to this for the wrong reasons, you will get caught. You can't do it through payroll and not
Yeah.
get caught, right? The
Yep.
payroll is a documented process. Even if you don't think it's well documented, it's still being documented.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind.
Absolutely.
Warning out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it also says here that I see your note about the company looking like it's out of business
Oh
now.
yeah, it's out of business now. Digging around and poking around, the company went out of business a few years after Walt got the official dates. It was August of 2022, but her thing, so she stole $300,000 from 2014 to 2016. She could have
Mm-hmm.
very much started the demise of this company, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
because that's a huge hit, $300,000, come on, that can make or break a small business. And
Absolutely.
they were
Absolutely.
T-Mobile resellers. You know what I
Yes.
mean? The
Absolutely.
margins are already small.
Yep. Absolutely. So
You
you got to
know,
break a piece off to this larger entity that you're doing the reselling for, and then you got to pay the employees that you have and stuff like that.
yep,
This could have set it all in motion. It
yep,
had downstream impact on this company,
yep,
and potentially because of what she did in these 2 years, it impacted like a handful of employees. It impacted people's livelihood
yeah,
down the road. You know what I'm saying?
yep,
Because hey, like sometimes people don't. This is what I want people to understand. You have so much power as I don't care what level of payroll you're at, specialist, manager, VP. You have so much power as a payroll professional.
yep,
That's why it's so important to do the right thing. Like we spoke to in the last episode, having that integrity, like her sitting in front of this, she's like, it must have opened her mind to say, like, you know what, man, nobody's really checking this. They don't really audit their payroll. The company that I'm doing payroll for really doesn't audit their payroll. They don't have checks in place. Man, I could probably
mm-hmm,
do
mm-hmm.
this. Do you think that factored into it?
It could have been. It could have been, or she could have targeted it. Like maybe she
Ooh,
was a thief at all her jobs. You know what
ooh,
I mean?
okay, yeah, yeah.
Or or was there a stressor? Or was there a stressor in her life that made her have
Mm-hmm.
to, do
Yep,
this?
yep,
Right? It was either greed, stressor. She saw the opportunity, was greedy about it, and like you said, oh wow, I can get away with this, right?
yep,
So the temptation was there, and she took advantage, and may have crushed somebody's livelihood because of it. You know,
yep.
and again, that's what got me thinking. I'm like, gosh, man, like, and there's so much consuming a lot of fraud content right now because it's tax day today. As we record this show, it's tax day,
Uh-huh.
and so many things went out. I was putting out like warnings out there, and I got to put another one out because the biggest thing is ignorance. They say like folks are
Yeah,
just not aware of all the tax scams. Oh, by the way, sidebar, there is a earned income credit, employee retention credit, not the earned income credit, the ERC, which
yep,
came out after the pandemic, right?
yep,
They're running a scam with that. So payroll
yep,
professionals,
yep,
beware. They're running a scam with the what is it? Employee retention credit,
yep.
ERC. IRS just put out a warning about it. And side again, if you're a
Absolutely.
payroll professional, go out and go subscribe to the IRS newsletter.
Yes.
I took it for granted because I'm on their site so much during the course of my week anyway.
Mm-hmm.
When things come up about anything IRS, I go validate before I speak on it because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one to speak out of turn. Like I speak
Yeah.
passionately about something because I've already proved,
Yeah.
already confirmed that it's fact.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'm on there all the time anyway. So I just took that kind of the news feed for granted. I signed up for it out of curiosity recently, and a bunch of federal thing, and the information that they're sharing is just great. Like
Yeah.
right after I posted about something, I saw the employee retention credit fraud scam alert.
Yep. Yep.
So again, bringing it full circle, folks. Like payroll folks, beware. Look out for that earned employee retention credit scam they're running right now. And again,
Absolutely.
just got worried about this. I'm like, gosh, man, these folks are really creating a bad name for us. So I'm happy to
Yeah.
report them. I'm happy to report them. I'm happy to help companies, right, get better on catching fraud, right?
Mhm.
And then rightfully so, let's move into the solutions for this.
Okay.
So,
I want to correct something
oh,
before
go,
we move
go, go.
forward.
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
I said this was her first payroll job. As I look closer, she did have some other
Okay. She has some
other
experience
jobs
somewhere.
that may have been financial. She did have another
Close.
like a year before that
Okay.
with payroll and stuff, but
Who knows? Who
yeah.
knows? Yeah. Who knows? Speaking of corrections,
Mhm.
in another show in this, I said indictment means that they like have proof. But in this case, it says in the bottom randomly that an indictment is merely an accusation
Yes.
and is not evidence of guilt.
Yep. Yep.
So that's
Innocent
pretty
until
interesting.
proven guilty.
Yes. And that's what it says.
Yep.
So that's very interesting because I guess it just means you have enough stuff to accuse somebody and arrest them,
Yep.
and then you got to go prove it. Before we move to the solutions, she really impacted a business because
Yeah.
in the court order they were looking for, what did they call it, forfeiture of like $213,000. I don't know how they got this exact number, but
Yeah.
they may have proof that she still has that money, and they're
Yep.
like, yo, we want that's our money, we need that
Yep.
money back. So it's very interesting there that the exact dollar amount was listed.
Yeah.
So she impact. There's no, or I mean, there could be insurance for this, but this clearly impacted a small business
Yep. Absolutely.
that eventually went out of business. Like she could have really. So rightfully so, she should be serving some time for this. Hopefully she is. And again, let's get to the solutions of it, right? If you
All right.
want to prevent, if you want to catch these things, if you want to run an audit through your payroll to comb through, right?
Mhm.
Just to be thorough, be proactive.
Yep.
Yes, you need to establish oversight because basically this person was working for a processing company. She's processing her clients, but
Yep.
who's checking the work that she's doing?
Yep.
Because there are controls. They're going to be simple checks and balances, right?
Yep.
This a really high level simple one is, hey, let me pull a random client and let's see, their head count is this, their payroll should be this. Let's go look at
Mhm.
their last payroll, see what that
Yep.
was about.
Yep.
Check it, right?
Yep.
That's one. Another one is if the employee's hourly, right? This ghost employee should
Yeah.
have punches,
Yep.
right? You got to match your punches to your time. That's again, it's a data validation. If I pulled 800 hours of regular time from my time and attendance system, I should have
Mhm.
800 regular hours of payment with, of course, if you have exceptions, you should have the backup and the documentation for what those exceptions are. Oh, we had to take out 10 hours for this one. That was an error. This person didn't take PTO. We took that out. So you should have your backup. If your 800 turns into 700, you should have 100 difference documented somewhere.
Yep.
But if not, right, you're not gonna catch ghost employees. Gonna be very tough for her to keep up with punching in and out for ghost employees.
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
unless your stuff is antiquated, that's gonna be a tough, task.
Yeah. That's
Right.
even if she has access to their time and attendance.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Because she's
You
just
know.
the account person doing the payroll.
Yep. Yeah.
So, right, that's a way to check. That's to catch a ghost is how I
Yeah.
is how I listed it. And then system logins too, right?
Yes.
There
Mhm.
is a way if your systems there's a way to tell who logged in when
Yep.
in your whole system. And we actually haven't run it in a while currently. And it's a good report. Reminding myself, I got to write this down. Run system check-in. Sorry, folks. So your systems, maybe an audit trail, maybe I know the system we use right now definitely has a last login report.
Yep.
Okay. So that's another way you can check for ghost employees. All right, let me run my active list and let me run my last login report. If you got an employee that hasn't logged in 6 months, guess what? They're probably terminated. And the manager,
they should be terminated, right?
they should, right. They probably don't work for you anymore as an hourly employee, right? They haven't logged in, they haven't punched in. Now look at their pay. Now, if they're getting paychecks and they're getting stuff, whoa, that's a red flag.
Yep.
So that's a great way to catch ghost employees. If you're a new manager, a great way, it may be tough sometimes depending on how big your team is, right? You should see, if you come into a new big team, you should make sure you put a face to every name.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
If maybe it's payday, maybe it's a day that, hey, you got to come do something to make folk, right? If you run 2 shifts and you're not usually there at night, hey, you need to pop up at night and just do an audit of your people physically. At least, okay, I've put a face to every name. Now I know, and now I can keep checking up, right? You can run reports on your like if you have to scan in and out of doors.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
There's
Do that.
reporting
Yep.
on that as well.
Yep.
So
one thing I wanted to say, even if you have even if you have a client, in this case, even if Absolute Wireless had an antiquated time and attendance, and they send in paper timesheets, right?
Yep.
It still could have been caught because those fictitious employees would not have had a time card. So
Facts. Great call out.
You still could have said, okay, hey, I have time cards for all these people.
Yeah.
But
where are these guys?
10 people.
Yep.
How are they getting hours?
Yep. How'd they get in there?
Yep.
There's got to be some inputs, right?
Yep.
Payroll is a product of a lot of inputs. We produce a product of a lot of inputs.
Yep.
So auditing those inputs is how you catch these things.
Yes.
Right.
Audit the inputs. Yep.
Auditing the inputs, controlling the inputs, documenting the inputs, the 5 pillars, folks, right? It all ties back to the 5 pillars. So that's how you catch ghost employees. And in this case, she did ghost employee and some terminated folks, right?
Yep.
Because I think that's how she got the identity theft, because they were terminated, right? And then maybe somebody put her on like, hey, stop stealing IDs, just make some people up.
Yeah. So like the identity theft, I think it came in because you have to, for most pay cards now, you have to put in the person's social. You have to put in the person's information.
Dropping gems.
Maybe the date of birth, address. You got to put that stuff in.
That's right. That's right.
You're taking that information unlawfully and entering it in. So that's probably where the identity theft came in, right?
You're exactly right. That's it. That's where it is. She was stealing folks' socials and things like that, creating. Yep, that's right. That's a great call out. So that's another one, controlling how pay cards are created. Right?
Yes.
Pull a report. Pull a report.
Yep.
And that's a soft spot right there. Pay cards. And guess what? Pay cards are proliferating. They are increasing in usage.
Yes, they are. They are.
Right?
They are.
I'm reading, all over the world, they are expanding pay card use.
Yep.
That makes it tougher for us, folks. That makes it tougher for payroll people.
It's not only that, but some of these companies have these where they can do pay to debit.
Ooh, yeah. It's an instant payment.
Yep.
You give me your debit card and we instantly fund your debit card. It's an amazing tool, but it makes it tougher, it requires more strict rules around how you control this stuff and how you use these things.
Yep.
Because you sending money out the door like this with no friction, right? What is Joe likes to say, frictionless or friction, right? So our CFO. So it's frictionless. It goes
Yep.
right out. And
Yep.
that's great for the for the solution,
Uh-huh.
but more it increases the requirements for us. Right now we have
Yep.
to be more diligent about how we're documenting and capturing, recording,
Yep.
reporting,
Yep.
right? All of that information. What are you doing to capture those transactions
Yep.
and reporting them back, sharing them back with finance, sharing them
Mm-hmm.
back with the proper teammates.
Yep.
So that makes it tougher, folks. Yeah, daily pay, right? We have this daily pay option, or on
Mm-hmm.
demand pay. Sorry, daily pay is a brand name.
Yeah.
Um, on demand payments. I mean,
Yeah.
again, like what you just said, but now there's a tool that folks get to request it themselves. They get their pay. Like
Yeah.
we are ripe for
Yep. You're absolutely right. Like
danger.
we, we. That's a thing, and I think you said this in another episode. I saw something. You had this written down in one of our business things. The word proactive
Yes.
and not
Yes.
being reactive.
Yep.
We just looked at that earlier tonight.
Yep. Yep.
And we need to be proactive with these things. We need
Yep.
to like look at the full scope and say, hey, and like sometimes we get so amazed by how good these solutions are and how amazing they are for the employees, but we don't
Yes.
realize the dark side of it,
Yes.
the bad side of it, and we have to project for those as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And do it now, right? Do it now. If
Yeah.
you guys don't use pay cards yet, if you're not using instant payment systems yet, think about what the process should be,
Yep.
document it, be prepared for when your company comes to you and says, "Hey, we want to do we heard, and sorry if we create, they may hear us and go back to you and be like, "Hey, is that true? Yeah, we need that. Do that."
Another interesting
Sorry.
thing, sorry to stay in this lane,
No,
but
you good.
another thing about the pay cards that you might be able to do as a payroll professional, sometimes if you have multiple locations and you send the pay cards and each location has their individual pay cards, you can see the card number for which location.
Yep.
So if you see a pay card was attached to somebody from an office that's in Texas, but the employee is in Hawaii,
Good call
you're
out.
like, why
Yep.
is it why is this Texas card
That's
assigned
right.
to this employee over here? There might be a way for you to track that. So just something to think about.
Yep. To that point, who's sending out those instant payments to who?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Build the processes before you have to deal with it. Build
Yep.
build the controls in advance.
Yes.
Be proactive. If you don't have it
Yep.
yet, build it now so you're ready.
Yes.
Document it. Share the steps. Hey, if you guys ever think about this is what, because it's coming.
Yes.
I'm sure. I promise you, it's coming.
And you have to ask these questions. You have to be so honest, like radical transparency,
Yep.
right? You have to sit down and say, bring your team together or bring your peers together. Hey, this is how our setup is. How if you could, how would you take advantage of this? You have to have those
Yes.
conversations.
Yes. Play
And
devil's advocate.
yeah,
What are
yeah,
our
yeah,
weaknesses? Where
yeah.
where would
Mhm.
somebody penetrate our process, our system? How does some right? How do they
What are
do
our
it?
blind spots?
Where are our blind spots?
Yep.
What audits should we run, and how
Mhm.
often, right?
Yep.
um
Yep.
and because usually we do things because we had problems with it before, so that's what we fix. And we only do this audit. Well, why don't you do to catch a ghost audit,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
Why not? Because you never had a ghost doesn't mean you don't have a ghost there now,
Facts.
right?
Facts.
So be proactive. And we were talking about being proactive because that's the whole, it's part of our core value
Yeah.
for our product delivery, right? We want you guys to be proactive. Take this information and be proactive and
Yes.
not
Yes.
reactive, right?
Yes.
I
Preach,
read
man.
I read something about, thank you, brother. I read something about being proactive that says something like if we're proactive, again, the good part. The bad part was like if you're reactive, you're repairing a lot of things,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And that's what stuck out to me. Like, that's true, man. If
Hmm.
you're in reactive mode, you do have to repair a lot of things. Things are broken. It broke, and now we gotta fix it. You know, that broke might have cost you $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that break may have cost you a lot of money.
Yep.
So get ahead of it, right? And especially if you're going into a new job as a payroll person, whip out a list of audits. Look, hey, let's be, oh, why are you doing that? Well, you can throw, hey, it's a catch a ghost. I don't know if you guys
Yep.
had a ghost employee. No, we never had one. Well, how do you know you don't have one?
How do you know? How do you
How do you
know?
know?
How do you
You
know?
know, and the bigger your payroll, the more likely it's possible.
And it might not necessarily be your payroll person, but it could be somebody at one of your locations that's doing something
Absolutely.
shady,
That's yeah. Think about
right?
it. If a manager can if a manager sets up a new employee at a location, you're right. Payrolls usually is support centers. We're disconnected from our field locations. We
Mm-hmm.
don't know what's going on there. We depend on the information being pulled. HR ops, same deal. HRIS, same deal. Right. We're
Mm-hmm.
disconnected, and a manager could absolutely set up a whole fake person
Absolutely.
depending on the conditions, right? Set up
Yep.
a whole fake person
Mm-hmm.
and HQ would not know.
Oh, I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen.
See what I'm saying? There you
Mm-hmm.
go.
I've
So
seen it happen.
how do you combat from that, right? There's ways. You gotta,
Absolutely.
right? You gotta vet. Now there are remote companies that will video I-9, remote
Yep.
I-9 validate. They have all kind of solutions to
Yep.
do these things and capture people and really see, hey, no, yep, we saw this person. It's validated. They
Yep.
legally validate and guarantee it. So there are solutions. So if you're in that situation, right, there's a solution for it.
No matter what level, no matter what's
That's
like
right.
you were saying, no matter what setup you have, if you
Yep.
have the all the bells and whistles and like the HCM and you have the systems that can check those persons and identity right there and then or
Yep.
not. Or if you have a more antiquated process, there's always a way for you to catch this stuff, no matter what.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You just got to be proactive about it. So, oh, we had some dishonorable mentions.
Yeah, dishonorable
That
mentions.
that was funny, man. Oh man, this guy
Another CEO, man.
at
Another CEO
at a payroll provider.
of a payroll company.
Dude, I'm saying the bad names, bro. They're bringing a bad name to us.
This is why
Shame.
the trust
Yeah.
it's
Tough.
yeah it's so that's why it's so important for us to do the right thing
Yep.
because these employees experience this stuff because of somebody who was in payroll.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
This stuff can be traumatic to people. It can impact people's
Heck
lives
yeah.
in a way that can like change the course of their life for a little bit. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Like it can really change somebody's life. Like you see this dude, $180 million.
Good gosh.
It says it was the largest and longest running case of blatant check kiting, say
In
kiting
US history.
in U.S. history for this guy.
Holy cow.
Yep, and he did it for 5 years.
180 million.
Mm-hmm.
He could face up to 18 years in prison,
Yep.
fund his lifestyle, including the purchase of millions of dollars of automobiles, aircraft, so he just stole money and balled out.
Yep. Stole money and because he wanted to live the fast life.
Lived the fast life.
Fancy cars, fancy homes, aircrafts, private jets.
Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
And he evaded also another 7 million in income taxes.
Yep. Yep. That, that,
190 million dollars. Jeez.
bro, that's what I'm saying. Like
That is crazy.
to your
Now
point,
this I'm sorry, go ahead.
to your point, there's tons of this stuff out there. There's
Yes.
stories, payroll horror stories, all these different things. There's tons
And
of this out there.
and we say this is only a dishonorable mention because again, it's one of those cases that there's not a solid payroll solve for it, right?
Yep.
This was a CEO at a payroll company
Yes.
doing payroll for a bunch of folks, right?
Yep.
Like again, background, I don't know if a background check it would even work, but somebody had to notice that this guy was balling out. Like, dang, this dude, right? Like, come on, somewhere, and that's probably how he got caught. Like, That's what we need. We got to find like how these people getting caught. What did it? What
Yep.
did it? That's the fun part.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was reading a little bit about this. He, because of what he did, companies went out of business because of
Oh,
what he did as well.
yeah. See,
I
they
think
got to.
he had a loan with a well-known bank. I think it was Key Bank. And because of what he was doing with the check kiting and timing the deposits and withdrawals, they had a negative balance. One day Key Bank did for his account, it was like in the 100 millions.
Oh my goodness.
So could you imagine that as a bank? Like you're like, oh, the worst part of this, he impacted a bunch of different people's lives. But Key Bank was one of the first ones to put in, like, I guess, to file legal action. So they were one of the first
Ah.
ones to get money back from him
Oh wow.
of what
Oh
they couldn't
wow.
retrieve. So other people were
Wow.
like,
Of course not. Yeah, they
out of
didn't.
luck.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, we just warn business owners like have some good insurance. Have some good insurance because if you start vendoring out things like this, right? They're responsible, but if the whole company goes down, how are you getting your money back?
See, and that what surprises me as well, because you don't hear a lot about payroll insurance. I know that it's mentioned a little bit out
Well,
there.
yeah, I think there's something. I think there's loss and you know, mm, I think, and we looked it up.
Yeah.
We did a little bit of research, and it's not like payroll insurance, but it's business insurance and
Yep.
covers you for loss. You got to see what you know. But if you're a business owner, you need to go to your broker and say, hey, what if this happens? How can do I have insurance that covers this? Go
Exactly.
ask them because there's got to be a product, right? There's got to be a product. Um,
Maybe.
yeah, yeah. Shoot, if not, then we need to start talking to some insurance brokers.
Yeah, for real.
Um, yeah, and that's it. I had another dishonorable mention there. I just again came across in my research, and it was funny because it was like Florida man sentenced for 2 years.
That's like a running joke. Like people
It
would say,
there's a
like,
show. There's like a
Florida
show
man.
now or something that's Florida man. Yeah, it's a whole
Yeah,
thing. It's a
yeah,
beer named Florida man. Like it's a whole. So that's what caught my eye.
yeah.
But he got sentenced for 2 years in jail for millions of dollars of tax evasion.
2 years.
2 years.
Okay.
Yep. He hid his stuff offshore. Um.
Wow.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, so he probably still has some of that money if it's offshore.
If he's good at hiding it, possibly, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But yeah, and that was it, folks. That was the rundown today.
Yeah.
Again, be proactive about
Yes.
catching ghost employees.
Yeah.
Mm,
There's, unfortunately, the reality is that there's always going to be somebody who's going to make a poor choice, the
yeah,
wrong choice out there.
yeah,
You have to. It's our part to do as a payroll professional is, like you said, to be proactive and protect our company against that
yes,
as
yep,
much as we can, because there's somebody out there who might have that temptation, as you spoke to
yeah,
do the wrong thing.
yep,
Yep.
yep. And as we build payroll and define payroll as an industry,
Mm,
this unfortunately might be something we got to think about, right? Folks need to be
yep.
vetted. You need background checks. Folks need to be radically transparent.
Yep.
You're right. Credit. I've had credit being checked as a payroll person and was questioned about my personal credit things, and you
Yep.
don't think about it. But if
Nope.
I'm looking at you, and again, we are not the fiduciary responsibility, but we have
Yes.
fiduciary responsibility. If I'm looking at you as fiduciary responsibility in my organization, but
Hmm.
you have horrible credit and you're bankrupt,
Yeah. Like, oh, I don't
are
know if
you
I want
gonna
this in my
make?
payroll.
I really don't. I don't know if you're gonna make good decisions,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So it's
Yep.
something to think about, folks. And again, to my payroll people, I don't mean to make this harder for us, um, but it just the reality of all this and seeing all these cases out there. It may be why it's so tough for us to get jobs sometimes, and folks are so they're not trusting. But if we have the measures in place to be vetted and to be credible in
Yep.
our field, payroll is an industry, right? So just something to think about. That's all.
Thank you for that, man. Any closing nuggets for the people?
Be proactive.
Be
Be
proactive.
proactive, right?
All right. There you
Yes,
go.
sir.
You heard it here first. Be
Yes,
proactive.
sir.
All
All
right,
right,
man.
brother.
All
Everybody
right.
have a good night.
Till next
Peace.
time.
Cool, man. Nice.